Welcome back to the Seekonk Speedway podcast series previewing the 2021 season at the Action Track of the East, and a great load of excitement coming into the year with the race fans coming back in the grandstands for 2021. I am so excited to say that after what it was a tough year in 2020, not having any fans out there in the grandstands. It hurt all of us at the track. I know it hurt a lot of you to not be able to see the racing. And for those who don't know, there was no Saturday night racing in 2020. So really looking forward to getting that back on the agenda for this season. As part of our division preview podcast, I really want to narrow down a little bit of these divisions and hear who might be some of the contenders for the championship when it comes to our 4 Saturday Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series divisions. This podcast specifically talking about the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman division. Now, the Sportsman division wide open as far as I'm concerned going into 2021 with a great list of returning veterans, of inexperienced drivers coming in, rookie contenders, that would be what they would be going into 2021, a mix of guys that have experience, don't have experience, some experience, a lot, a little. I mean, it's just all over the place in the Sportsman division with 50 cars registered to compete during the course of the year. Now, you say, you hear 50 cars, and you wonder, will all 50 show up every week? Probably not. Most likely they won't. But there's going to be a large assortment of cars weekly. And as far as I'm concerned, a full field to get the season kicked off and hopefully over the course of the whole year. Now, as we get ready for the 2021 Sportsman season, want to talk about the Sportsman division specifically and who might be able to knock Corey Fanning off the top. Now, Corey Fanning, driving for Everett's Auto Parts, picked up the championship in 2019, a very strong run in that final night, finishing second to clinch the crown. Really exciting to see them celebrate their championship. Are they the favorites going into 2021? Is it likely that they're going to go back-to-back in the Sportsman division? Yeah, there's a good possibility that Corey Fanning might be the one to make it back-to-back behind the wheel of that number 11. But there is a stout list of drivers lining up to compete against him going into 2021. Let's go down this roster and see who might be one of the drivers that can knock him off. Steve Axon, a former champion of this division, if he runs the whole schedule in that red number 04, I'd pay close attention to him to see him compete up at the front of the field. Craig Pianca's making his return for the first time in a couple of years, really. 2020, everybody off. 2019, he only ran a partial schedule. He's planning to come back and run full-time. Never really been a full-time championship contender in a lot of people's eyes, but he's got the speed, the driving talent, and the patience, too, behind the wheel of that number 4. So look for Craig Pianca to be a contender this year. Crystal Seredinsky is registered, planning to come back, I hope, for a full schedule behind the wheel of the number 8. So watch for her. You got Chris Gomes, Paul Williams, Ed Hollowak, a name that's been around for a lot of years, is making a Sportsman return this year. Scott Seredinsky Jr., the all-time Sportsman wins leader, is registered for 2021. How about a guy like Joe Kohler? Dave Gagaro Jr. is registered. Mike Teague, Vinny Pangolinan, Colby Lambert in the former Paul Lallier car. Adam Petty's got a new car for this year. Don Perry, Sparky Arsenal, a veteran. No way around Sparky Arsenal being up there at the front of the field. He's going to be a challenger in that number 96. I saw his daughter, Amy Arsenal, last year putting on Facebook, hashtag Sparky2020. She might want to do Sparky 2021 because he's going to be a contender for the title as well this season. And you got other drivers as well. Tyler Almeida, former Sport 4 regular, is planning to run in the Sportsman this year. Cody Tripp, going to be a Rookie of the Year contender. You got Kevin Rio, Chris Rio, Randy Moretti, former Pure Stock regular in the Sportsman, possibly this year for selected races. How about Adam Giamacozzi? Behind the wheel of the Joe Gardner prepared number 02. He's going to be a factor. Chris Kay is registered in the 08. Emily Sprague's got car number 0 registered. Chad Baxter has been driving that over the last couple of years. No exact driver listed as part of our roster so far for 2021, but I expect Chad to be driving, and he's been fast behind the wheel of that number 0. So he's going to be one to watch as well in the Sportsman division. A lot of different things going on in the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman class. Want to thank Helger South Coast Power Equipment. They're located in Westport, Massachusetts, and they are the proud sponsor of the Sportsman class. You can give them a call at 774-264-9550. They offer you the latest in parts and power equipment products at the best prices. All right, Now, moving into 2021, championship for the Sportsman, wide open, as I said. Let's hear from Kevin Boucher, the voice of Seekonk Speedway. He's going to join us around the turn. Then we'll be joined by Lenny Ellis, our Saturday night race director. Let's hear what they've got to say about the championship. For me, I don't know. This one's wide open. I'm going to put Kevin on the spot. I'm going to put Lenny on the spot and see what they think. But I'm not going to make a concrete pick as part of this podcast because I don't know what's going to happen. There's so many different drivers that could be up at the front of the Sportsman division that we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I'll get back to you about the last week of the season. I'll get back to you going into the last week and let you know who I think is going to be the champion. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Kevin, Lenny Ellis, and then we'll be on to the 2021 season for the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman. Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. Glad you could join us for our 2021 Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman Division Preview. Now, Helger South Coast Power Equipment, located in Westport, Massachusetts, is there for all of your power equipment needs, and they are back as the sponsor of this great division in 2021. 50 cars registered, as I mentioned off the top, and we are going to welcome in Kevin Boucher to talk with us about the Sportsman division for a few minutes here in 2021. Kevin's seen these sportsmen around Seekonk for many, many, many years. And Kevin, we mentioned it in another podcast talking about the late models. The Sportsman division for 2021, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty wide open. You got Corey Fanning returning, looking for a second straight championship. But outside of that, Sparky Arsenal is there as a veteran of this division. You got guys like Steve Axon. You never know if he's going to run the full season or not. You got Scott Seredinsky Jr. planning to come back at some level. Crystal Seredinsky is registered as well. Dean Petty, son Adam Petty, is also registered as well. I mean, there's so much going on here going into 2021 of the Sportsman division. What do you look for from this class specifically heading into the new year?
I'm going to look at the same thing we see every year from our Sportsman division, is the excitement that they provide to the fans. The 2 and 3 wide racing and the inability to look at the division and say there's a clear standout there because there are so many of them. You're right. You got a laundry list of drivers that can sit in Everett Auto Parts Victory Lane and any Saturday night. And there's so many cars, there's so many things that can happen over the course of the year. It's tough to pick a clear favorite on that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Looking at the roster going into 2021, there's so many different drivers here that you could see competing up at the front of the field. Dave Gargaro, we didn't mention him a minute ago, could throw him in that mix as well. You got a couple rookies coming in, and I think one of the bigger things that we're going to have to keep watch on is Fanning. And I think the battle for me comes down to Fanning versus Steve Axon versus Sparky Arsenal. And Kevin, I'll get your opinion here. Adam Petty's in that mix to me as well when we're talking championship. But the guy I'm looking at that really it's time for him to take himself to the next level, to the championship level, is Craig Bianca. I just think it's his time. Didn't run a lot in 2019. He's coming back. He's fast. He's wicked respectful on the track, races everybody with respect, wants the same back. And the speed under the hood, knowing the way he drives around the track to keep his equipment clean, he's a guy that I look at as a possible contender to knock Fanning off the top.
Well, he's definitely in the contender category. When he's out there, he's having fun. One of the less aggressive drivers, and that can actually hamper him in the Sportsman division. But I wouldn't put it past them to be that guy, to be right there at the end of the year. But I'll be honest with you, I think you're skipping over one name, one driver that has been knocking not at the inside door, but the outside door. He's been fast a lot of different places, a lot of different races, and that's Joe Kohler. Joe's got his piece right where he wants it. Last year, he picked up the Outlaw Open Street Stock Championship at the Waterford Speed Bowl while we were scuttled, and that put a lot of confidence in him. And going into 2021, I think he is going to be Corey Fanning's biggest competitor when it comes down to the championship.
Yeah, Joe has definitely shown the speed 100% to be there when it comes down to the end of the season. He's definitely going to be one to watch. There's some other guys in here that you can't forget about as well. Chris Rio, Ed Perry, always a contender towards the front of the field. Chris Gomes is in that mix. Paul Williams. Ed Howiak registered to come back this year, a former track winner for many years as well. You got a guy like Vinny Pangolinan registered. Colby Lambert, another guy we haven't talked about yet here in the last couple minutes, that's a contender to me. Sparky Arsenal, another one you always have to look at him with his experience and his veteran style around the third mile in that number 96. Now, Kevin, put you on the spot in a couple other podcasts here for the division preview. And if you're not ready to claim a champion for 2021 in April, that's okay. But is there somebody you think that's almost a sure lock? Is Corey Fanning a near lock for you to be that guy to contend for the championship in 2021?
Well, Corey is definitely the favorite going into the year, coming off his championship year and the confidence level that he has and his new partnership with Everett's. But I'm not going to say there's a clear-cut favorite, but I'm going to give you four names that I think it's going to come down to. Corey is definitely one of them. Joe Kohler is the other. Steve Axon, if he runs the full season, he will be there at the end of the year. And my fourth driver is Adam Petty.
All right. So 4 drivers from Kevin. He's banking on one of them winning the championship, and that's a fair bet. I'll take the field. How's that? Somebody out of the field is going to have to win this championship. I'm going to add Craig Bianca in, and those will be my 5. I'll get back with you a little bit later in the show to let you know who I think is going to be the one winning the championship. And again, this is myself and Kevin making predictions that, in all intents and purposes, don't mean anything and will probably not come true, so don't bet on them. Anyway, let's take a break on the South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman Division preview. When we come back, we're going to welcome in our second special guest of the show. Lenny Ellis, the Saturday Night Race Director, joins us right here on the podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Seekonk Speedway podcast series, previewing the 2021 season for all of the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Saturday night divisions. We've spoken about the late models and the pro stocks and the trucks in a separate podcast. If you're listening to the Sportsman podcast, either those are out already or they're coming down the line here in the next couple of days. So stick with us for the release of those podcasts. You can visit all of our podcasts on our website and as part of those famed podcast apps that you found, most likely found us on. Now, the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman Division, just speaking with Kevin a little bit ago about what he thought. Kevin Boucher joining us. Thanks to him for jumping in. Now we're going to welcome in another Seekonk Speedway famed member and a Wall of Fame member and current race director of our Saturday night program. Lenny Ellis has now joined us on the hotline. Now, Lenny, Kevin Boucher said there was a couple guys to watch, 4 or 5, that he thought were going to be contenders for the championship. He kind of had Joe Kohler in there. Adam Petty was in there. Corey Fanning, Sparky Arsenal. I mean, there's a large assortment of guys here. You got Steve Axon, Craig Pienka. But you've been around a while. These sportsman guys really do put on one heck of a show when they hit the track.
And at the beginning of this one, this is our first division where there's a very competitive female driver, which is awesome. Crystal Saradinsky is returning to Seekonk, which I love the fact. She's won a lot of races here, been very competitive, kind of went off, did her own thing, did everything from SK Lights to, trucks and just different divisions she went to. But I have a little bit different thing. I think some of the names that, Corey Fanning will definitely, if he chooses to run the whole year, which I think he's going to, he'll be there. It's going to be the people that are going to run for the whole year, like maybe this guy Dave I'm not good with Poundson, but Gargaro.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that's actually the old number 7, which was the
Tyler Lally. Yeah.
Tyler Lally's, yes. And Kohler's good, but you've got to, in this division, you got to have finishes all the time, and you got to take care of your equipment. And so you've got some dark horses, but it'll be the people that come there every week and try to run for a championship and try to take care of their equipment and try to finish the races. That's what's going to be the big thing. They got like 48 people signed up for this thing. I'm sure they're not all going to be there, but with 48, we should have a full field of I'm expecting at least probably 30 cars a week.
Yeah.
So that'll be outstanding.
Yeah,
Now
no,
it's just going to try to, I mean, Craig Bianca's coming back for his type of a whole season. There's other people. I think Steve Axon's going to run a limited season, and there's some different people that are going to run just limited seasons. So we'll have to see how it all unfolds and see how it goes. Paul Williams picked up his program a lot the last 2 years. We'll just he just has to get away a pass, and David Petty, he'll be right there. He'll be right there, in my opinion, with Corey Fanning.
yeah, this is one of the divisions that's a little bit more set in stone with some of the veterans that have been around for a long time. You mentioned Steve Axon. Of course, Craig Bianca took a year, basically almost a whole year off, but he's a veteran, been around a while. Sparky Arsenal, been around a while. Adam Petty kind of jumping onto the scene lately, not been around as long, but been fast and coming from a racing family. And some others in there as well. Great job mentioning Crystal Sierodinsky. Scott Sierodinsky's also registered. We'll see how many races he runs. You're right about Paul Williams. You got a guy like Ed Perry who's been running as well. Car number 0, currently registered right now with a to-be-announced driver, but Chad Baxter has been driving that car and been fast, so expecting him to be back behind the wheel, hopefully, of that car as well this year. But Lenny, the Sportsman division, to me, puts on one of the best shows of the night. 3 wide racing. We had a few rough races back in 2019 with a few too many cautions, but I mean, as a race director, what do you look for this division? Because I think of all the divisions, this might be the one where you might allow a little bit more paint rubbing than some of the others.
Well, in this division, what's happened over the years, unfortunately, too many people have watched NASCAR on Sunday afternoons, and they think they should, push the guy out of the groove to pass him. Never try to go on the outside. They do everything, in their power, from trying to run the berm to 8 tires or better. So we just have to try to make that better and go back to old style racing, which there's 3 grooves there, and they can do that sometimes. And we just can't get into the people that are blocking or running them up. Whether they're blocking low or chopping them. It's a fine line, because people love to see racing. And like I tell Dave all the time, Dave Alburn, that is, hey, we don't want IROC racing here. We want people passing people. And I'm really, really into this division because cars pass on the outside. They do on late models. We're going to work on it in all 4 divisions and try to get the outside pass, where you don't sit there and try to, always nudge the guy out to get by him. I mean, we just got to promote that, and it'll be better racing for people, and certainly better racing for the fans. When you sit there and see a guy take 5 laps to go around the outside of somebody, that's exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be another great year as part of the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman division. Looking forward to watching them hit the track on Sunday, May 2nd, with a large variety of different experience levels, drivers, cars, and more as part of this Division 3 class in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series at Seekonk Speedway. I want to thank Lenny Ellis and Kevin Boucher for joining me as part of the Sportsman Division preview for 2021. I want to thank our sponsor for this division, Helger South Coast Power Equipment, for all their support. Check them out in Westport, Massachusetts for all your power equipment needs. A huge thanks goes out to them for all they do to support this class and our Fast Friday Pure Stock division. You can visit them online at southcoastpowerequipment.com. For Lenny Ellis and Kevin Boucher, I'm Kyle Souza. Thanks for joining us for the 2021 Sportsman Division Preview Podcast. We will be back over the podcast series here over the next couple of weeks to talk about what's going on the track with some real-life racing returning. For now, so long, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, and stick with our website and social media for more.